Hi, I am Maria Mandarino, and thank you for being here with me today. Today we are going to discuss Enneagram Type 4, known as the Romantic. But before we jump into that, please remember to like the video. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be updated when there are new videos coming up or any new information about my work. So please remember to do that. Please comment on the video at the end. I'd love to know your thoughts about the material, especially if you lead with Type 4 or have someone in your life who leads with Type 4. All of this really adds essence to the work. So I'd love to hear from you. So please comment if this speaks to you. Okay. Also, I am available for Enneagram work. I do this work one-on-one with people as a spiritual director. I'm also a trained Enneagram professional, certified Enneagram professional. So I do this work one-on-one with people, and we explore personality type. I do the personality testing, the interviewing. So this is all part of what we do. And in spiritual direction, as I kind of say in most of my videos here, while my tendency, because it is my training, is to use the Enneagram with people, we don't have to use the Enneagram in spiritual direction. It is one of the areas of focus. I also bring some astrology into my work and different archetypal systems. So we're going to talk about a couple of those today, actually. So Enneagram Type 4, located in the heart center. It's the last of the heart types that we're talking about in this series that I've been focusing on. Some of the key words for Enneagram Type 4, the most common one is the romantic. They're also called the authentic person. They're called the individualist, the creative person, and the artist. Those are common words that we use with Enneagram Type 4. And their focus, again, being in the heart center, their focus is on feelings. But particular to Type 4 is the deep feelings and the deep aspects of relationship. It's all about depth with Type 4. So we're going to talk a little bit. One of the metaphors I use with Type 4 for some reason, but I suppose because they are creative and they resonate, with such creativity. I'm going to use a couple of musical references today, and one of them is that Adele song, Rolling in the Deep. So if you want to experience how deep a 4 can go, turn that song on, turn it up, and just really feel the depths of the emotion in that song. Okay, so there are deep feelers. So Type 4 seeks to be deeply connected to something greater, whatever the connection is with them, whatever they're connected to, whoever they're connected to. It's always about going deeper, taking it to something deeper, greater, more powerful, more significant. It's always about the depth, okay, and the ideal. So the other musical reference I'm going to give you is from Don Quixote. Reaching the unreachable star. So it's always reaching for that sometimes elusive feeling or elusive ideal. There's always this longing that they bring to the experience. So Type 4s are idealistic. They are often dramatic. They are empathetic. They are authentic. And they are our deepest feelers. So even out of the heart centers, they are the deepest feelers on the Enneagram map. They are driven to be unique. Being unique is of high value to them. And they can also be prone to melancholy because they have this awareness of what's missing. So as much beauty as they can take in, as much idealism as they can take in, they have this underlying vibration of what's not there. So it can create this feeling of melancholy for them. So I mentioned I'm going to talk about some other archetypal systems. I want to talk about Type 4 a little bit through an astrological lens. They have a very Venusian quality, this energy of Venus, right, which we typically associate with Libras and Taurans. Okay, so So if you have a type 4 in your life, if you lead with type 4, you may see things through that lens of, that high standard for beauty, for perfection. And it's not the perfection of the one, it's just that godlike perfection that they want to see in everything. Again, it's about that depth for them. Okay. So as I mentioned, this is in the higher expression of type 4. So we talk about the higher expression, we talk about the lower expression and the shadow in the Enneagram, right? So the higher expression, the higher self, they're the deep connectors, but in their connection, they see all that is holy. They can even see the holy and the unholy. Okay. I would say that's pretty unique to type 4, of just being able to see all that is holy and sacred and extraordinary, even if it's in something that most people wouldn't see as beautiful. They are very self-aware in their higher expression, tremendously creative, highly present to the moment, whatever the moment is. They're very sensitive and empathetic. They're not afraid to go into the feelings that other types might, be less willing to go into. Very passionate in their highest expression, introspective. Again, they're deep, right? So introspection. Mentioned that they're idealistic. They are honest in their higher expression. In their higher expression, they are masters of irony. So when things aren't so beautiful, they'll find the ironic in it, and they'll be able to bring this kind of almost dark humor to a situation. One of the most remarkable things I appreciate in well-adjusted type 4s is I think they can sit with you in sadness like few other types can. It doesn't scare them. The sadness, the darkness, it's familiar to them. They know how to be in that world because they've experienced that longing, that melancholy, the sadness. They can sit with those, those experiences when you go through them, and they don't have to say anything, and you feel their resonance. They know how to be in that with you. So it's one of the qualities that I particularly appreciate about an actualized type 4. So some of the lower expressions, again, we have the higher expression in any type, and then we have the shadow. So I'm going to break the shadow into 3 areas with type 4. Because it is a complex type. I mean, all the types have their complexities, but I think type 4s probably have more than the other types. So in their lower expression, they project this dissatisfaction with life and this feeling of perennial disappointment, of things just never being good enough. And then it extends into they are never good enough. So that can kind of get muddied for them, I think. In their lower expression, they can be moody. Their focus, as I've said, is what's missing. It's on what's missing, and then in focusing on the what's missing, they miss the things that are there, that can be right in front of them. So they're prone to see what's not there as opposed to what actually is there that could be celebrated. And again, this is the lower expression of the type. They can play hard to get, and that has to do with their fear of rejection, which comes from the fear of not being enough. So if I'm not enough, I run the risk of being rejected. So in order to not be rejected, and they still want the connection, so they can play this hard to get game. So they want the connection, but they don't let you get it. Okay, so it's that hard to get, and that really comes from a fear of being rejected. The other part of that fear of being rejected, they can leave relationships before someone might leave them. So another musical reference is that song, I'd Rather Leave While I'm in Love. Okay, type 4s can bring that to the experience, to a relationship when they're not healthy. So it can make being in relationship with an unhealthy 4 rather difficult, because they can almost have this energy of having one foot out the door because they're not enough. So if I'm not enough, I might as well, kind of keep a door open, an escape route. So they can bring this energy of not being fully in it with you, even though the one thing they want more than anything is to be in the deep with you. Okay, but that fear of rejection can keep them with this, exit strategy that's there. In their lower expression, they can bring this this feeling of no one understands me, no one can ever understand me, and that gets to they have this feeling about being special, okay, and they're so special that no one can see it, no one can understand it. So they can bring that energy, and it's not unusual for an unhealthy 4 to say that no one ever understands me, no one can ever understand me. So that focus on not being enough also has an energy of shame in it for them. So that's important to remember, that it really is that's what it stems in for them, is this feeling of shame. An unhealthy 4 can take things very personally, and they can be very dramatic when that happens, when they do take something personally, and things can blow up and you don't even really have a sense of where it came from. And it's because they take these things to heart, again, being heart-centered, right? They can also, when they're unhealthy, be very self-centered, and again, focused on wanting to be special, wanting to be unique. There is a line from, I believe it's the Fantastics. It's a play, the Fantastics, and one of the characters, she's a young girl, and she declares that the moon turns red every year on her birthday, and it always will. So that's very 4-ish. That's very low energy type 4, that need to be special, so special that the moon turns red every year on your birthday, and it always will. They can be hypersensitive in their lower expression. They can express an envy. Envy is one of the words we associate with, two of the words we associate with a low 4's, melancholy and envy. So it's that awareness, that focus that they have on what others have, the things that, of course, they'll never have, because there's always something missing for them. And one of the words that they'll use is this feeling of deficiency, of what's inadequate about them. Okay, so with that goes this focus on what other people have, all the things that they have, that the inadequate 4, the deficient 4, can't seem to aspire to. So in their lower expression, that's where their focus goes. When they're really in their lower expression, I said I'm going to kind of focus on 3 levels of the lower expression. The really low expression of the Enneagram 4 is self-pity. They're great at having a pity party when they're unhealthy. They can be self-indulgent. One of the ways that some type 4s that I know, one of the ways they deal with things is they'll go on these little shopping sprees for things that they don't need, but they're pretty things and special things, and they make them feel really good. So that's one of the ways that they will cope with being in their lower expression, being a little self-indulgent. They will live in fantasy. Of all the types I've worked with, I think they are the ones that veer most towards fantasy books and films, science fiction, fantasy type thing. They can be very comfortable leaning into that world. It makes total sense to them. So it's a comfortable place. So in their lower expression, they start to live in this level of fantasy, and they can project an energy of it's all hopeless when they're in that lower expression. And then we have the lowest expression of type 4, which can be when you love someone who is a type 4, it can be really hard to witness the lowest expression of the 4, which can be a self-destructive type energy, self-destructive behavior, can be addiction, Anything from shopping addiction, as I mentioned earlier, to chemical dependency and addictions. Various types of addictions that create harm and the risk of harm for the type 4. So in their lowest expression, that's a possibility. They can escape reality, which can be problematic for them. And they can fall into deep depression, real despair. So that's the absolute lowest. So if we're looking at the spectrum, that's the lowest end of where they can go when they're having a hard time. So unhealthy 4s, the irony is they can push people away with all of this intense energy, this highly dramatic, these highs and lows. That's the other thing. Type 4 is really prone to these highs and lows in emotions. And they really want that connection and relationship, but what can result from these unhealthy behaviors is they can push people away. So, and they don't obviously understand that they're doing that. And they can have this, you can't fire me, I quit energy, but with them, it comes with this dramatic, like, you can't fire me, I quit because I'm too special to be here. Okay, so there's this dramatic quality that comes with it. And under it is this pain and this fear of greater pain of being rejected, because rejection is the ultimate pain for them, right? So they'll just take off and spin off in like this glorious blaze of dramatic fire. It's not the rage of an 8, which if you haven't checked out the 8 video, please go back and do so, because it's an entirely different energy. But there's just this whirling flash of dramatic, you can almost like see them spinning out of the room because they're just not going to stick around. They're too special for it. And again, this comes from an unhealthy state in the 4. And they can also have this withdrawing energy where they're there and you're connected and it's all going great. And then all of a sudden they're not, and you can't reach them. They're unreachable. And even if you call them and you get them on the phone, which you may not, because they'll withdraw, that way as well. But they'll just go into this moody withdrawal as well, even if they're right in front of you. So that's one of the ways they present when they're not healthy. So these are just ways of knowing when the 4 in your life isn't having an easy time. These are the lower ways that they will present to you. And of course, as I mentioned, that melancholy, it's one of the key words we associate with an unhealthy 4, and this feeling of loneliness that they experience, because it's this, they feel this separation, this lack of connection, this melancholy, this deficiency, not being enough, not being good enough, and this deep sadness that brings them to this state of loneliness. And it gets back to, no one can ever understand the world the way I see it. It's so overwhelming. It's so intense that who could ever understand this, right? So it sets them up for being lonely, because they take uniqueness to a bad place, and it brings them into a state of loneliness. Okay, so when we have 4s in our lives, it's something to be aware of and compassionate toward, because that is real for them. Okay? So a healthy 4, on the other hand, they will bring you in. They will draw you into the deep in the best of ways. Okay. They are just fearless around your pain. As I mentioned before, they can go into the deep dark. None of it scares them. They have somehow crossed the river Styx already in their experience. And when they see you there, they just will go right in there with you. So they're fearless around pain, which is really, again, when they're in a healthy expression, 4s can be wonderful people to have when your world is being challenged. A healthy 4 is not focused on that feeling of deficiency, on that feeling of not being enough, and instead they understand that they are divinely loved simply for what they bring. that they don't have to bring anything else. They don't have to bring any special qualities. They don't need to prove anything by being unique. They are simply and completely loved. And they don't have to be special to get that love. So again, that's a healthy 4. We'll bring that expression into the room. A healthy 4 also has a remarkable connection to beauty, and they will bring it. They will bring it to your relationship. They will bring it into a room. An actualized type 4, when you enter their world, you feel and appreciate the beauty that is all around them. It's just like a natural extension of their energy. So I've kind of alluded to this. It probably won't surprise you. Each video I talk about the thing that each type fears more than death. For type 4, it is abandonment. Abandonment, rejection, specifically the fear of being abandoned or not being enough, for not being adequate, for being abandoned, for being deficient. Those are gutting to the type 4. Okay. Remember, it's all about feeling. It's all about the heart for them. So the next piece of that is the somatic experience of type 4. What's going on in their body. Their energy goes to the core. I would say predominantly to the heart, but all of the core. And so the extremities don't get all the energy that goes to the center for them. And this is particularly when they're stressed. Okay. And that can create a feeling of anxiety of them, this very heightened state of anxiety that they feel. They can feel it, they can experience it in their breathing. Their breathing may become shallow, short of breath. One of the ways for type 4 to work through that, a helpful somatic practice would be through anything artistic, anything through the arts, music, dance. So, I mentioned that Adele song before, Rolling in the Deep. I think for a type 4 to just even turn that up and move through that with some expressive dance, turn it up, maybe sing along with it. So expression through artistic expressions, I should say, is helpful for the somatic experience of type 4. Also, anything creative, whatever creative expression is important to them, could be painting, whatever it is that they do well, that makes them feel like a creative child of the divine on this planet. Let them do that. And if you lead with 4, that's something you should be doing, is fully immersing yourself, body, mind, and spirit, right? Because we're talking about the somatic piece of this, so the body has to come into it for you. So creativity, and also things that involve children or the child within you. But I have seen 4s connect with children in the most beautiful ways, because children are naturally creative. They don't have those inhibitions, right? And that uplifts the type 4. So, so working with children, being around children, observing children and their creativity, and then bringing that into your body, that, remembering that part of yourself that had that freedom of expression and creativity, before the fears began to manifest. Okay. So some tips, if you have a type 4 in your life, I would say going into the deep and feeling their sadness is essential. It's hard to be around, but it's essential to them to do. So give them room to do that. Honor their need to do that. Certainly don't make it something small or insignificant, because that's devastating to them, because these deep emotions are essential to them. So give them space and honor their space to have these deep feelings. When they're in a low state, you may need to schedule time to be with them, because because of that, again, in the lower expression, they can be very moody and very difficult to be around. So make sure you have the resources to bring to the moment with the type 4 if they're in their lower expression, because you will need those resources. You will need them for yourself, and you will need them to support the type 4 in your life. So again, I mentioned honoring their feelings, allowing space around their feelings. And because 4s have that Venusian quality of value being very significant for them, bring focus to this notion of value. Let them see it, ideally in themselves, which may be hard for them, but certainly in what's around them. Get them to focus on what is beautiful. And again, remember that they're the type that can see beauty in even the things that most people don't think of as beautiful. So getting them on that track of beauty, that can be a healing path for them, reminding them of what is beautiful and what has value, particularly in them. But if you can't get them to go there, definitely in what's around them, in the beauty, the love, the divine expression that is all around them. They will understand that. They will understand the expression of divine love as beauty and value. They will understand that, as I think few other types easily can. And if you personally lead with type 4, keep your awareness on what is. Don't forget to look at what is. We talk about equanimity in the Enneagram, and it's that the beauty of what is, the enoughness in what is, the enoughness that is within you as well. Keep your awareness around being loved for being enough, that you don't need to be special. It's wonderful that you are. It's wonderful that you are unique, but we love you anyway, right? So we talked about that with type 4, type 3 last episode, where the type 3 cannot imagine being loved if they're not doing something or performing for you. So the type 4 can get caught up in, if I'm not unique, if I'm not special, who could love me, right? Well, the deal is we love you, even though, we love you, you're special. We love you, you're unique. We know those things. But the point is, we love you anyway. We don't love you because you're special and unique. Okay? We love you anyway. So bring your awareness around that, which I know can be really hard for you. So make sure you keep that as your active work. Okay, your active inner work. Keep an awareness of beauty in what is. We know that you do that well anyway, but when you feel a little off kilter, bring it back to the beauty in what is. And we all know there's not always perfection in what is, right? But there's still beauty in it. And you guys, you 4s, bring that better than anyone else. So keep your awareness of what a value that is for you, and within the dance of the Enneagram, within all the 9 types, to have this awareness of the beauty in all that is. Something else 4s can work on is being calm in their identity. And I mentioned that I'm going to bring some other archetypal things into this. So in this example, I want to bring in the Tarot, and particularly the Empress card and the Emperor card. If you're familiar with the Tarot, you'll know those cards. If you're not, you may want to look them up. But there's this stateliness in knowing who you are in both of those archetypes of the Emperor and the Empress. They know who they are within their own kingdom. They are in harmony with the beauty around them. They are in harmony with the value around and within them. And this brings them a calm centeredness in their identity that is peaceful within them and brings peace to those around them. there's a security in it, I guess is a good word. So being calm in your identity, calm and secure in your identity, and feeling your inner presence within that archetypal pattern of the emperor or the empress. And remembering that in your center, going into your center, that you are enough. You are always enough. And you don't have to be anything special, extraordinary, or unique. You and just what you bring are enough. Okay. So to sum up, a little quick cheat sheet of sorts for type 4. On the lower expression, the deep feelers that can sometimes take them into the dark places and get them a little bit trapped there. In their negative state, they can be prone to melancholy, have a focus on being deficient and not enough, and they can be moody. And in their highest expression, highly authentic people and idealistic, very unique with a flair for the unique, expressive, and highly creative. So that is all I have for you today on the overview of Enneagram Type 4. Thank you again for being here. Again, remember to like the video, share, subscribe. That way you'll be updated on anything and everything here. And remember to schedule. In order to schedule with me, you can go to my website, mariamandarino.com. I will have that link in the show notes. And again, I'm available to do Enneagram typing interviews with you, spiritual direction work, where we can go into your Enneagram type deeper and really explore what's going on within your Enneagram. Part of my work, as you may have deducted from this video, I do bring in astrology if people are wanting to do that work. We kind of look at the overlap between the astrology and your Enneagram map. We do some archetypal work with the tarot and other systems, 5 elements. You may know I'm an acupuncturist as well, so I have experience in that tradition as well. So whatever it takes to do the deep work of excavation. So I'm available to do that with you. Reach out. If you lead with type 4 and you would like to do an interview, I'm going to be doing more of those. We're going to be getting them scheduled on the next couple of months between May and June. We'll have a couple of those coming up, but I don't have my type 4s scheduled. So, the beauty of the interview is I can tell you anything about the types. And it's certainly important to have those parameters. But when you hear it coming out of the conversation with the person who lives in that type, and you hear the higher expressions and the lower expressions and the pain points, it just lends a new depth to that. So on that note, same reason I invite people to comment on the videos here, because if you lead with type 4, you can lend some of that richness, some of that experience that only you can personally know. Again, I can tell you all the details about the type, but only you know the pain points. So I welcome you to share that in the comments. I invite you to reach out if you would be open to being interviewed, if you know that you lead with type 4 or have a strong suspicion that you might. I would love to talk to you here on the channel and share that with others. So other than that, I will see you here next time, and be well. Thank you.